Oh, hello everyone. It started right away this time. There was no even countdown. So anyway, welcome to the Black Eel Pod.
On my screen, it was on two when you started
Oh,
talking.
on my screen it started immediately. So
Okay.
anyway, so welcome to the Black Eel Podcast. Here are your hosts Scott and Mike. We got a lot to talk about. We have to talk about our thoughts on Daredevil season 3, then move on to Harley Quinn, then move on to the season finale of Invincible, and then with the latest episode of Daredevil, and where we think the rest of, or at least the very next episode's going to go, and then end with a character spotlight from Mike. So let's get right into it and talk about season 3. Season 3 for me, and I know we talked about this a little bit yesterday, Mike. I thought this was like the best season, and I'm going to tell you why. Okay? Because as weird as it sounds, Matt Murdock was technically not Daredevil in this season, but that's not why I liked it. It
hmm
was it gave us what we wanted to begin with was him joining his friends and kind of working together to combine the law and the vigilantiness together. And in the in this season, it worked out much better.
It I mean, obviously at the end, it finally all came together where they accepted everything and was able to accept Matt for what he basically what he
But
was.
they kind of did that
And
before the end, though. That was more in the middle, I thought.
well, it started in the middle, but don't forget because it was still that conflict of because Matt at that point was coming towards the middle was uh I want to kill Kingpin,
Hmm.
and that was where Foggy was like, no, we need to do it the right way, do it by law, not by your way, and eventually. Because the law kept failing, they finally was like, okay, we got no choice. We got to accept what you know. Obviously they didn't want him to kill him,
No,
but
but they agreed that they can't do everything 100% by the book, which I think was the big piece there.
yeah,
We also got we
I
also got
I
Karen's
I loved
backstory
all of
too.
this.
We also got Karen's backstory because it had
Yep,
been talked about a lot, and then we finally get it.
that was heartbreaking. Like it just uh, and as soon as it started with her father, I was like, oh, interesting. Obviously piquing the interest of like, oh, what really happened and all that other stuff, and then
Correct.
finally being able to see it because her decisions led to it, but it wasn't her fault.
Well, and that was kind of the whole thing where she's like, no, they all kind of blame me for it, even though it really wasn't my fault. And to be fair, like you're right, her decisions made it, but like she wasn't. She she was actually trying to save him, and then he was already shot anyway. So it's not like
Hmm? Everything okay?
um. Keep talking about season 3. I gotta check on something.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, she had her issues with her brother, or not the brother. Her brother was already beat up and was, in serious condition after the fight with her boyfriend. Um, and I mean, in retrospect, like when she left, her brother went after her boyfriend, and when he went after when setting fire to his camper, that led to one event. So like he was trying to look out for Karen,
Yes.
but because she was in with the wrong crowd. Uh, I mean, in retrospect, burning down someone's camper,
Still
that's
wasn't
kind
smart.
of yeah. Like even though she was in it with the wrong crowd, like he made a bad decision by trying to set it on fire in the first place.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
like I'll say this: like it wasn't one person's fault. It was a combination of everyone.
it was the thing of like her father was too busy hung on to trying to save the diner because that's all he had left of their mother, which I understand that.
Oh,
Like
here's
that's
the thing: I'm not blaming him for that, but I'm blaming him for because of how he was treating everyone else was the problem.
yeah, he was treating Karen, specifically Karen, like it just you're only good for one thing,
He
and
didn't do that.
whatever. Um, and then obviously then her brother was doing it with good intentions of trying to protect his sister, and because he knew that she was in a rough patch,
But still didn't do
but
it right.
did it in the worst way possible and going after her boyfriend.
Yes.
Then obviously the boyfriend was the bad habit, and then that Karen was in a dark place because she was stuck in a loop that she didn't want to be in, and obviously it led to bad decisions.
100%.
Um,
100%.
like it's just the way that life worked out. Like it's one of those things where there's no one to blame, but everyone is also to blame because it
Yeah,
was
you're
just
absolutely right. It's one of those weird things where it's like it. I'm just basically going to repeat you, but you're absolutely right.
yeah,
But anyway, so I love that. I also loved seeing Foggy's family for the first time.
yeah,
We also got to see Penguin's mother, who happens to be Foggy Nelson's mother, which I just
yeah,
find to be hilarious because I'll be honest with you, I saw it like obviously the day before you sent me that text, so I
yeah,
registered it, but I didn't want to say anything because I wasn't sure if you'd seen it yet.
yeah.
So I waited, and then you sent that to me, and I was like, "That's hilarious." I'm glad he noticed right away, because it's one of those things where definitely the first, like I would have never put two and two together until obviously seeing the two back to back or close to it, I should say.
Well, the funny thing is that when I first saw it, because she looks so much younger, I was like, "Wait, is that Penguin's mother?" And then like you hear the voice and you get the close
Well,
up
it's the
to her. I'm like, "That's
I
Penguin's
was gonna
mother."
say the voice is what got me right away, but I'm like, I don't remember her looking like that. And again, right, we don't see her face like fully right away.
Yeah,
It
no,
took
it
a
was a
little
little
bit.
bit of a difference. And then they had a one on one, and that's when I
No,
was
no,
like,
no, no.
"Oh."
That's exactly when I was like, oh, I got it now.
Then I texted you immediately. You're just like, "Yep, the biggest secret is out. I'm sorry I couldn't keep the secret from you."
Yeah, I was just like, whatever. I was like, I wasn't gonna say anything else. But yeah, so that was the big thing too. Also, like we get to see like the dynamic of even why Foggy was like, I can't even do this anymore. Like I can't do this by the book because he's got my family. Like he was so good at like, and not him specifically, but like Kingpin was so good at doing everything
Yeah,
he needed to do, and that to me was the big piece there, because he
he knew how to break everybody,
and
and
he did it
that's
so
that.
well.
Like,
He did it so
yeah,
well. Ah,
just being able to play his cards to the point that like even getting the warden of the jail, like I'm not saying anything, or what, the FBI, and just in general playing his part so well that I said this to you yesterday when we were recording, is that I understand why you everybody doesn't see this Kingpin that we have now as Kingpin,
of
because
what we just got, of what you just
what
saw.
we just got, yeah, in season 3 particularly, like he was great in season 1 and he was great for the little bit in season 2, but season 3, oh my god, he just escalated that. And even the emotional drama, you saw that bond, and even the little bit of I guess divide a little bit with with
Vanessa.
Vanessa. Like she wanted to be in his world and he was uncomfortable with that, and I guess like that kind of carries into what we're getting now, is like she wants to be there, and even now like he doesn't want to be there
So,
anymore, so
and I
it's
think
like,
that the slight difference I want to add there is like like he was uncomfortable to begin with, then he was okay with it. But then there was
yep,
the issues that happened in the MCU that caused him to be
yep,
separated from her, and then she took over, and now she's like, "You only want me to stop because it's not what you want,"
mm-hmm,
and
yeah.
that's her issue. Which again, I'm not disagreeing with. I get it, but that being said, it's just like, wow, um, I'm just kind of surprised.
No, I mean this season was absolutely incredible. It just like the emotional turmoil that all the characters went through.
There
I
was
mean,
not a
you had
single one
you
that
had
didn't. There was not a
yeah,
single one.
you had Poindexter and him
Ugh.
working up the confidence to talk to the person that he's stalkily crushing on, uh, and
And
then just Kingpin taking that away immediately.
but
As soon as that happened, my jaw actually dropped, because I was like, wait, that's not her. Oh my god, that's her, because it did.
well, my whole thing too is it's like he knew exactly what to do, and then the moment she was taking like she was ruining the situation, he got rid of her so quick, and I was just like,
Yep.
oh my goodness, like what do we?
Yeah, didn't even give it an opportunity to fester.
No,
It
no, it was
was.
like I'm not even risking it. We're getting rid of her now, and I'm just
Yep.
like. I like again, I get it. Do not get me wrong, I understand it. But in my mind, I'm like, oh no.
Yep. No, I mean with like I said, Poindexter, then obviously Nadim, the head of the FBI, just her turning around and being like, talking to Nadim about how she used to have two kids, now she only has one, and I was like, oh my
Well, the
god.
thing too is like, yes, that, but also the fact of like, was not expecting her to be the one.
No,
Like when that,
no,
like,
I thought it was the other way around. I was expecting him to then kill her, but then like the blood just shattered, splattered everywhere. I was like, holy crap.
I was just like, she's like, great, thank you for doing this in my brand new edition, and now I got to clean this up, and I'm just like, I'm like, oh gosh, I forgot. Like again, like I remembered it obviously, but like what I mean is, it's like when it first happened, I definitely wasn't expecting her to be the traitor, and the fact that he was
Hmm.
so deep in the FBI already.
Yeah. Yep.
Um,
Absolutely.
and like I remember,
Um,
I will say this, I do remember the prisoner who stabbed him. Like I remember that piece. That's how he got the FBI to even talk to him, blah blah blah, and all that stuff, right?
yeah.
But oh, I mean that no, that's not true. The stabbing was what got him out of there and got into protection.
Yes.
But oh my gosh, it was so good, and oh
Even like the emotional turmoil with Matt's faith,
yes,
how like this season was very much. I remember you talking about this in general, and for the personality of Matt Murdock and Daredevil, and how he was trying to balance that life. And I think extending it even further is these 3 seasons showed his different turmoil with his faith.
yes.
Because season 1 it was full on faith, season 2 it was starting to waver a little bit, and now in this one it was just like, you know what,
So
I'm turning my
there is
back.
one thing we haven't talked about that we need to is two people. So two people. Well, one person died, the priest, and then
And so I think I remember seeing that on when it happened, because I remember that happening. So it must have popped up on YouTube or something,
that makes
and
sense to me.
I had I had already seen it.
But were you expecting that that was his mother?
No, no, not at all. Interesting choice, interesting way to add even more to the story.
But to
Um,
be fair, it was kind of hinted too, like because the idea was, it was very subtly hinted in the sense of he called somebody, and we assumed it was the priest, but it might not have been. So
well, yeah,
I'm talking
because
about,
when
so I'm talking about,
in season one,
yeah, when he knows that things aren't going to go well, he calls somebody to
yeah.
check in on his kid, and we assumed it was the priest, but I'm now questioning like,
Well, well, I had assumed it was his mother, but I didn't know who
oh,
it
okay,
was.
all right, no, that's fair. Now
Um,
that you know what,
so because
well,
it
because he
was like
doesn't he make a comment like, oh, this is your
yeah,
kid too?
yeah, he makes some kind of comment that I don't remember at this point, but he makes some kind of comment that right from the beginning I was like, okay, this is his mother.
Yeah,
They just didn't
who
specify,
it was?
what who it was and what the reasoning was that she wasn't around.
Correct. And then now
Um,
we know. Um,
Now we know. Yeah, I'm even glad that they were showing, because I mean, what, this came out in 2018, so it wasn't that far away, but even still pointing out the sometimes women going through the to the post depression,
postpartum depression.
postpartum
But what
depression.
I do like too is
Um,
she even mentions it too. Like back then, we didn't even know what it was, but now it's postpartum
yeah,
depression. And I'm like, and I just, and it's like, yes, as an audience member, you go, oh, clearly she has postpartum depression. But then you forget that in that timeline, and literally at that time, that I don't want to say it didn't exist necessarily. It obviously did, but it was very much unknown.
it was not understood,
Yes, it
and
was.
even she said it. It's like you were seen as lazy, and that you just I do like these shows in terms of bringing important topics to the forefront.
I agree.
They did an excellent job
They've
with all of that.
this the whole Defenders saga, and I think you can agree with me, is
That's what I
they
meant.
touch on every little thing, and then
Yep.
they just, and you would think that they beat it with a dead horse, but they don't. They show you all the different ways it affects everyone differently, and like
Yep.
granted, in postpartum depression, they didn't show it in many different ways. They didn't need to, but the idea is they showed it in the sense of like why she wasn't around and everything else. But they're still hinting at topics that are just so like big. Um,
Yeah, but I mean, even still, like even those small topics like the postpartum depression, that disease, or I don't know if it's a disease, but syndrome, um, that thing led to all these other this led to Matt becoming where he is
yeah,
because she wasn't around, she wasn't able to take care of him. So, and he pointed that out. He's like, if well, whatever. I think his exact wording was like, God had this plan that I would get to where I am because you had to go through that, thus getting me to here. Um, so I mean, they touched on it in terms of talking about it, but even still, like you have the effect of it on the entire series
yeah.
because of that one decision or
No, you're right.
uh
Because of that one, that
happening.
one
Yeah.
incident, I should say. No, I agree with you. It's yeah, it's just been. How do I even phrase this? It's just been awesome to see, in my opinion, just to see all of it happening all at once. Um, and the big thing too is just I loved her character because she is literally like Matt, like
Yeah.
stubborn as all
Yeah.
hell and everything else. So I do like that. Um, I just have to say, like, I liked her character a lot in this, and I thought it was really cool to kind of see her. I don't want to phrase this. We get to see her like basically be like awesome in the sense of like even stopping Poindexter from seeing the blood on the sarcophagus, and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So it's like we see a lot of her being like also not being afraid of dying. And I know that's weird to say, but like, and I'm not saying that she necessarily wanted to die at all. But what I'm saying is,
Obviously.
it was more the fact of like she wasn't afraid of like what would happen because this guy's going cuckoo for cocoa puffs, and like
Hmm.
excuse me, and seeing the basically the downfall of Poindexter throughout the whole season was
Oh
incredible.
yeah.
Um, and also it makes it even better too because you knew so much that um, the FBI was infiltrated by Kingpin that
Mm.
Kingpin also made it so Poindexter would be under stipulation. Like he
Yeah.
was under investigation. Now granted at the time he did not know that. At the time we
Uh
were not aware. But I'm like
oh yeah.
but like
Yeah, I mean, because you didn't know the extent of when it was going on, you didn't know the extent that he was involved in
exactly.
whatever. So, um, it just this season, like I said, was just great. The one thing that actually turned me for a loop, not as dramatic as I was saying it, but the entire season, I was thinking that Foggy's girlfriend was influenced by Kingpin because the entire time she's like influencing him, trying to get him to go after Kingpin, and I was like, she's sabotaging him. And then that it didn't play out. I was like,
Hmm.
that was the one character that I was like, she is definitely not actually looking out for his best
But she is,
interest,
which was good. Thank
but
goodness.
she actually was.
Um, but
I loved Foggy going after the DA and how he was actually getting a following.
the police liked him.
Yeah, the police were joking with him, but then they actually, you know what, he's actually standing up for us.
It's like it's more the
Um,
fact of they're like, oh wow, he's actually making a good point. Like we can't even argue it.
yeah, I something else too. How I didn't realize this entire saga in general, but this season in particular, they were really in your face. Uh, how political it was in terms of like real life instances. Like they were making comments that was going on in like
Oh
because this was
yes,
2018. Like they were making comments about like what was going on in like real life politics, and
and also real
I
life instances too. Like they weren't talking about comic book ones; they were talking about ones that happened.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, actually. Um, like I know that at one point, I don't remember exactly. I think they made some kind of comment about like they legitimately made a Trump comment, and I was like, oh, I was not seeing that coming. And uh, I love that how they were able to test the boundaries and still come out as a popular show. Which I mean, that's very difficult to do in today's world, which is crazy to think
no,
about
you're
as
absolutely
only
right.
less than 10 years ago.
And no, you're right. This whole Defender saga, I think, I and I could be wrong, but I think this was the last. Now, granted, it's because of the characters of the next two that it doesn't work out. Because it's just Punisher. It's Punisher than Jessica.
Jessica Jones. Yeah.
I think this is the last season where we get like real life put into it. Um, because it just didn't. Nothing happened during that time that fit those two
Yeah.
characters. But I mean,
Yeah.
if they did, they would have put it in. Let's be honest. So
Yeah.
it's one of those.
I mean, like I know that like with Luke Cage,
Oh,
they were making a lot of Trump comments as well
they
because
were
they made a lot of they were making like
they were
make
also making a point to talk about all the men that had all the people of color that had died from police brutality and everything else as well.
yep, that one definitely. Yep. I know at one point I think they were talking about Luke Cage. They were
I don't think they ever said
make
his name though.
New York. No, 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 they didn't say but they were like make New York great again. They were
No,
making
yeah, they were making the joke because at the time he was running. Yes, he was running.
yeah. So like I know they made a couple of comments like that, and like you said with the police brutality, which I know I had commented before. But no, this series was great.
It was, and like I said, we're gonna talk at the like in 2 weeks from now, and we're going to talk about we're going to see if you can rank them all. But I'm going to ask you to rank them not by. I know you keep saying, "Oh, I'm going to do it by season." I prefer you not to, just because it's going to make it
I'm
more
gonna do it
interesting.
just to piss you off.
All right, so how about this? You rank them by series, and then you can rank them by season. Deal? We'll do
Okay.
both.
So here's the thing. I can probably already rank it for the most part. Obviously, I'm missing Punisher season 2 to see where that
And
falls.
Jessica season 3.
Uh, so if I'm ranking it at the moment with season 1 and 2, I'm ranking Daredevil above Jessica
That's
Jones.
fair.
So I'm curious. I'm curious how you because I know you've been
Yeah.
saying all along is that Jessica
So
is your
we're
favorite.
gonna see. We're
So
gonna see. I think no matter what,
uh,
they're 1 and 2, regardless of which way they go. But
absolutely,
that being
yeah.
said, I will have to rewatch season 3. If I remember correctly, season 3 was was good, and I don't want to say any more because I don't want to ruin anything for you. But
You don't want to get my hopes up or let
yeah,
down.
so I'm just gonna say I think it to me, if I remember correctly, it had a similar effect as to Daredevil season 3, where I thought it was the best season, but but it might have been just because season 2 wasn't as good. You know what
Okay,
I'm saying? Like, meaning like
yeah.
season 2 was definitely not the best one for sure. But I'm wondering if that's what's making me think right now that season 3 was so good.
Okay.
Uh,
Well, we'll see. Because I mean, obviously, yeah.
I'm
I mean,
also curious. There's gonna be a couple of characters that get introduced. This doesn't ruin anything. You shouldn't be shocked by that anyway. I'm curious
okay.
how you feel about both of them. One of them we were technically introduced to before, but they now have their comic book name. Um, and I'm very curious to see how you feel about that. And the best part is, you think you know who I'm talking about, and you don't.
I mean, obviously, first thought process was immediately going to her
Triple.
friend. Yeah, but I was going off the assumption that I'm assuming I was wrong, and then your comment just basically solidified
Well, I mean, I
that.
will say
So
this: like, she's definitely one of them who gets her comic book name,
yeah,
but
she.
like,
Oh, okay.
but I don't know. To me, like, you kind of
You knew that was coming.
yeah, I mean, you might not. Again, if you weren't a huge comic book fan, you might not have known who she becomes, but you kind of saw at the end of season 2, like, oh, like she's
Yeah,
already kind of hinted that she wants to do this stuff. So like, it shouldn't
yeah,
be a little shocking.
absolutely.
But yeah, so next week we're going to be talking about Punisher season 2, and I'm very curious to see how Mike feels about that. Um,
I'm curious because this is the season that like turned a lot of people off. Like this is the most disappointing
I think it's
season
one of those
for
things. I
everybody.
think if I remember correctly, and again, I don't think I'm wrong. This was one where it was like good, 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 and then it ended, and you're like, what?
Oh,
So it's
okay.
one of those where it's like I think the part that pissed me off, and again it pissed off a lot of people, was like if I remember correctly, they did such a good job of like doing things, and then they were
Yeah.
just like, nah. And
Okay.
I'm like, if I remember correctly, that doesn't mean I'm right, but but you've already heard season 2 is not as good as season 1.
Yeah. I have a quick
Tell
question
me
about this. What was what was this character in?
what?
He clearly wasn't in the Defenders. Ghost Rider. Was he in
Oh, so he was in Agents of Shield.
Agents of Shield. Okay,
So
because I know some people were really liked him, and for
no, so
I didn't
and it also
remember.
wasn't Johnny Storm. Johnny Blaze. It wasn't.
Oh, okay.
I say that because this particular Ghost Rider, if I remember correctly, I cannot remember his name to save my life, but
Wasn't he Hispanic?
yes, but he's I think he's like, if I remember correctly, he's the second comic book Ghost Rider, but he's the third Ghost Rider in general type of thing. It
What?
because there was somebody before Johnny Blaze. Like the idea is there was always somebody before. There was some one,
Oh,
but
okay.
like you don't really know it until much later. So then Johnny
Yeah.
Blaze, and then after Johnny Blaze, it's this guy.
Okay.
Obviously, Johnny Blaze gets it back at certain points. Blah blah blah. But yeah,
Yep.
anyway,
Yep.
so this guy, instead of using a motorcycle, he uses a car, and it it's pretty awesome. Um,
Interesting. Okay.
no, it's just so that's what he gets used for in that one. There's also a few other characters that get introduced into that as well. Um, I think he's the biggest name though. If I remember correctly, I think
uh.
he's the biggest name. Well, think about like all other characters. Like I don't
Yeah.
think anybody like like comic book wise, like status wise, because technically
Yeah.
you at one point you have Nick Fury and Maria Hill in it, but like what I'm talking about is like comic book status level.
Yeah, no, I thought I remember hearing about one other comic book character that
Yeah.
showed up, but I think I still agree with you that Ghost Rider was like the biggest name, like that like caused a lot of attention to get onto the
Yeah, that
show.
season was like a huge hit apparently for a lot of people because he was in it.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
It was actually like the season that, and people were mad that he was. I think he was only in half the season. I don't even think he was in the full season.
There was a rumor that he was supposed to be making
Yes.
like because there was the theory that he was supposed to be this was supposed to be MCU tied and
Well,
whatnot, but
it was just like the Defender saga. Like it wasn't. Like, oh, we're gonna talk
yeah,
about all this stuff. Oh, look at Hydra infiltrated Shield, so Shield doesn't exist anymore, but we're still gonna exist. Um,
yeah,
and then the events of Dark World happen, and then so like all these things, like they're going along with it, but like it like, oh my gosh, like this happened, and then that's it. Like that's all that's mentioned.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Because I like I said, I remember there was a hint that he was supposed to be joining the MCU at that point, but that or like even getting his own show, but then that obviously never came about. So yeah. Well, either way, back on topic. I'm looking forward to
so
uh
so we
Pu-
have 2 seasons left.
Punisher.
So we have Punisher season 2, then Jessica Jones season 3, and then we're done with the Defender saga. And then we'll just worry about the shows and movies that come out for a bit until something else comes up that we have to watch the old stuff. Um,
I am glad that I am caught up in terms of the Daredevil side of things.
yes,
So,
yeah. So and this
um,
doesn't ruin anything. If I don't think there's any because of the way they got like canceled and everything. I think they're only mentioned, but that nobody else has a crossover. I don't think.
mm,
Maybe Karen Page in season 2 of Punisher, almost said Daredevil, of Punisher, but I don't think there's any more crossover other than that. Just because it was canceled, so they were like, I don't want to pay these actors anymore. Which, to
yeah,
be
of
fair,
course.
makes sense. They might get
I
mentioned.
mean, even
They might get mentioned.
I the only thing I would disagree with you on that is that because they didn't know it was canceled, so they
Well,
were
no,
already these shows were already made.
During Punisher and Jessica Jones, they did know. During these two, they did know.
Oh, okay.
So that's the big thing here. So Punisher, I think, was in the middle of filming, so it might not. That's why I'm saying that. But
So that's why it looks so.
but
Yeah, okay. That's why it feels so.
Jessica, they knew it was the end,
Okay.
and they assumed that they were never going to get anything else, just because Disney owned it.
Okay.
Um, um, but yeah, so let's move on to Harley Quinn. So Harley Quinn, this episode. First off, the name of this episode was so weird. I don't know if you read it. Did you read the name of the episode?
No, I didn't.
So it was called the Bottle episode, but not the Bottle episode.
The bottle episode, but not the. Okay.
I still don't get it. It's obviously a reference to something that I don't understand. So it was the bottle episode, and then in parentheses, not the bottle episode. Um, don't ask me.
Probably making I mean, clearly making a joke about the city getting bottled.
Yeah,
So I
but
mean,
like, I don't know. I feel like maybe we're gonna have a fight in the bottle next episode, and that's the whole point they're making. I don't know. Anyway, so we have Harley Quinn, Lex Luthor, Poison Ivy, and Sharon. Shannon or Sharon?
Sharon,
Okay, hold on. We're gonna stop for a second because I think we're losing connection.
are we?
Nope, it's back.
You were actually perfectly fine on my side
No,
for
it was
once.
it was like we're having trouble connecting. Give us a minute.
Oh,
Um.
okay.
So anyway, so yeah, we have those four, and then we have Lois Lane, Joker, and Bruce Wayne all the in Metropolis fighting robots.
They were fighting the
Brainiac, Sentry
I
droids,
forget what they're I forget what the
security
name they
droids.
call them at this point.
Aren't they like security droids? I forget what they're. It's like Brainiac security droids. It's something like outlandishly like long.
Yeah, yeah. No, it was. But anyways, you're right with the security droids. We'll just continue to call it that. But this episode was actually really funny because I was going through it and I was like, okay, this is kind of slow. For being episode 9 out of episode 10, I was expecting a little bit more. But then as it like continues to progress, I'm like I'm getting more and more into it, and I'm like I want to not like it, but it's forcing me to like it because it's just so goofy.
It's just so good. Like this season has been so good. Like, don't get me wrong. This episode was definitely not the best episode of the season for sure, but it still
Yeah,
wasn't bad at all. Like, it was
no,
so good in what it did. Like the fact that the fact that even Poison Ivy in the Batcave talking to Bruce Wayne is and Harley Quinn's like, "Oh yeah, Bruce, you fund Batman's money." She goes, "Corporate, corporate,
yeah, corporate
cor-
sellout or
yeah,
something,
corporate shelter."
corporate shill.
Corporate shell, of course. Why am I not surprised? And I'm just like, that's hilarious.
Oh my god.
Even with
I forgot that Poison Ivy didn't know that
no,
that
I'm still convinced that nobody knows. I know you're arguing that Lois Lane knows. I'm still on the fence of like no. Um,
I'm just like I'm waiting for Joker to remember. Like every minute they're together because he's acting all buddy pal with Bruce,
no,
and
I
I'm just
know.
waiting for it to come back to him, and I'm
That's
like,
the thing where I'm like I'm
oh.
kind of on the same boat as you, where I'm like, is he gonna remember, type of thing, and he hasn't yet, which is just funny to me. Um,
I also love like when you going off of them fighting the robots in the city. They're going through it, and Batman's fighting it. Lois Lane is kind of fighting and kind of dodging because she's the only one that's not powered. And then Joker's just walking around making notes, trying to get Bruce Wayne to sign the permission slip for his kid.
he's like,
And he's just like nonchalantly throwing bombs, throwing
He's
the
like,
chatter
he's like, we're
teeth.
trying to have a conversation here, Bruce. All right, my kid deserves to get the get the credit she needs for her internship. And then, so then, like I said, so we get that going on. Then we get the confirmation that first off, we also have Bane and Clayface drinking liquor like you wouldn't believe. Um,
Yeah,
which
celebrating.
yes, and I just find that to be hilarious. Um, and then they realize that the world is crumbling, basically.
I loved when they came together when Clayface and Bane ran into the other ones. Lois Lane was complaining about how
They
the
ruined the
Daily
paper.
Planet has just gone downhill and whatever, and he's just like, "Well, you're the new editor in chief." It's like, "Wait, you can do that? How can you do that?"
Oh yeah, bro.
It's a thing I have. I just like to buy things.
He was like,
It's
"No, it's a thing I
like,
do. I just buy things. I don't even think about it anymore." And I'm just like, "Oh my gosh!" Like, and again, to be fair, that is Bruce Wayne.
and
Like, it's
100% is
not, it's
Bruce
not,
Wayne.
it's not
Just
even like I can't even like argue. Like, there's nothing I can say to be like, no. But like, he 100% is. Like, he 100% does that.
no, they played that one really well because it was just like it's just nonchalant, just like, "Oh yeah, I do this." It's like, "Oh, thanks."
No, you're absolutely right. That's
I'm
the
what
thing.
I wonder how mad Clayface is going to be now, and the real Perry White.
Well, I think the real Perry White is not going to get mad at all. But that's just me.
I don't know. I mean, he just got his job stolen because of Clayface.
I mean,
So,
I guess you're right. I mean, that's just not how I look at it. But I get your point. Um,
um, but this episode was great. I loved the secret hidden item that Lex Luthor had to so that
Oh,
would
that
stop Lena.
that one threw me off too because I just love how they're all like, "I'm sorry, what?"
Yeah. It
I
was a toy train.
That's what's gonna stop her from destroying the world. I mean, Metropolis. And he's like, "Yeah, I got this. Don't worry."
And I
It just
it was so creepy with the when it was
oh,
like, oh, don't you want to do this
I
together? And
just
then
like no,
Poison Ivy is
I
like,
just like I. That's exactly what I was gonna say too. Where I'm like, she's like, "Please don't tell me they're gonna do what I think they're gonna do. Please don't tell me they're
they're
gonna.
not gonna.
Please don't tell me they're gonna sleep together. Please don't tell me they're gonna sleep together." And then they do that and they're like, "Oh God, it's worse."
um, no, it was such a blend.
It was just so good.
The comedy this season has been so on point.
It's been the best
Um,
it has been in a long time.
Yep, it's 3 and 4. I've said this every single episode.
Says
Is
it
like
every says
this is
it
a
every week.
great improvement. Um, but again, obviously going off the humor is like Lois Lane tries to contact Superman, and that doesn't work because Batman's tech gadget destroys the communications in Metropolis.
So I thought that
And
was actually Lena. So I originally thought that she cut off communication with everyone, and then then
oh
Bruce
yeah,
goes, "Oh yeah." He goes, and so I forgot what they said, but did somebody made it? Oh, he's like, "This is why we don't have children do this," and he's like, "That's my daughter."
no, that was Bruce. Bruce made a comment about because
Yeah, no, no, but
he's like
you're right, you're right.
my
But then the Joker's like, "That is my daughter. You were nuts."
my daughter did that.
He goes,
It's
"This is why
like
you don't have
your
child."
point.
He's like, "This is why you don't have child labor."
Yeah. And what's funny is that before Joker made a comment, I thought he was making a comment dig at himself about the Robins.
Mhm.
So it made it even better with Joker. I was like, oh yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah,
Um,
it was just yeah, it was definitely just good in general. Like I have no complaints. Um,
and I loved Joker in this because he had perfect humor.
but it was like,
Like you said with
but it was also
with
like it had. How do I want to phrase this? I don't want to say it had nothing to do with it, but like it had like
it
like
flowed.
it flowed. But it's like Joker's got a like the world is ending around him, and again, this makes sense because it's Joker. But he's only caring about the permission slip signed by Bruce
Yeah,
Wayne to get his daughter the internship credit. And in my mind, I'm like, he really doesn't care about the world. And again, it
no,
does make sense. I'm not saying it's
yep.
definitely on brand. I'm just stating like it's just funny to me, and it gets me every single time.
And I know we like you said it yesterday is that when Lois had the chance to contact Superman and Joker was like, oh, just do it, and she said, what, you don't trust Harley? And he's like, no, I'm gonna trust Harley, the one that does acrobats,
No, no.
swings
He
a
goes.
bat, and is a psych.
No, he's like, this is exactly what we need to fight intergalactic robots. He's like somebody with with No, no,
Gymnastics
no, no. It's
training.
like he's like gymnastics and a baseball bat. He goes, yeah. No, you're calling your boyfriend Superman.
Yep. Um, and then obviously like, oh, we got a backup plan to contact him with the Morse code, and he's like, oh, you're sending Morse
That's
codes.
old school nerdy talk. Is I think how he said it too.
And then when she walked away, he made it was like
He,
dash dash O or something, like like
no,
you
dot
type
dot dash
Morse.
dot dot dash.
Yeah.
And I I I really want to know what that is.
I,
Um,
if it's something that
oh, I'm
like
assuming
it's actually some kind of Morse
it's
code.
definitely Morse code. I'm just wondering if it because it definitely doesn't spell anything. I don't think because you need too many of those. So it's not like it's like because I was thinking he was gonna say fun or something like that, but it can't be that because it was too few.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I thought it was just like him making a joke
Oh
because
no, he definitely was making a joke regardless. But I
uh
don't know if it was like one of those intelligent jokes where it's like you have to
yeah.
actually know Morse code to get it. Um,
Yeah, that's what that like I was thinking on it after. I was like, I wonder if that actually said something, but probably not, like you said, because it needs so many types things set out for it to be something. But obviously, next episode. Well, can't say obviously because the show makes twists and turns left and right. But next episode,
oh wait,
the thought
hold
is
on,
that super
hold on.
super.
I gotta dot dot dash represents the letter V.
Oh God.
Um,
Ugh.
ironically, so like, so it does mean V, um, and the historical significance of V was for victory. Um, but that being said, it's just the fact.
We know what it really means in this
Oh
case.
no, it definitely does. I just find it even funny because I literally see the letter V and I went, "Oh my gosh, that's
That's
not what I was
hilarious.
expecting." I mean, like I should have, but like that's hilarious. Because I definitely in a million years would have never gotten that joke, just because it didn't exist for me.
um, but obviously they're hinting that Superman is going to come in and save the day next
Yeah,
episode.
because we see the Morse code
Um,
go from planet to planet.
yep, and then we hear Lois Lane say, "I need you." So,
Yeah, yeah, so we get to know what she has said. I just find it funny that it's in her voice, even though it's Morse code. We talk,
oh yeah.
but that you know what? To be honest with you, that's like the least like concerning thing out of the whole thing. So I really don't care. But it's just funny.
I assumed that again, like you said, because it was in her voice. I assumed that they just added that just so that way the audience knows what
Oh, I
she
assume
said.
no, no, absolutely. Like it's not what Superman's hearing, but like but the idea is it's like, oh, Lois Lane needs me, I must come.
Uh
I must help her V, and
Watch yourself.
hey, I'm just helping out Joker here. But anyway, so yeah, this was actually a good episode. I enjoyed it, but let us move on. Um, to talk.
Oh, we can't forget Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy, and Sharon
Oh,
got
they got
bottled.
bottled and they got put into the same bottle as Brainiac, because that has to
Yep.
be known as well. And
But we can't forget too is that the whole reason they got bottled is because Harley decided to be a therapist and she was too good at being a
no, no,
therapist that
I love the sequence because she looks in the reflection and she sees Harleen, and she's like,
Yep.
I got this," and then she just looks at them and goes, "All right," and then all of a sudden she goes, and then you see her reflection, Harleen, go, "We're too good of a therapist,"
Yeah.
and then they just like, and
I,
they're just like, "Oh no," it just gets
I,
crazy.
I love Poison Ivy in the background. It's like, you go, babe. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right. Stick it to...
you give him that therapy. You got it. And I'm sitting there going, oh gosh. And then it just goes like in a completely different direction where they're like teaming up together, and I just go, oh, this is not what I was expecting.
No, I don't know. It was so good.
They
But
no,
anyways, let's
they
move
did
on.
such a good job. They did such a good job. But anyway, so now let's talk about Invincible. So this episode starts off shockingly right where the last one ended. Question though,
Little bit farther ahead.
so can we also talk about? Did you see the trailer for this episode? The,
I purposely avoided
oh
the
no,
trailer.
Mike, you would have lost. You would have learned nothing. You know what it was?
Oh, okay.
It was literally the ending credit scene. The only difference was they make contact.
Oh,
They literally, so their
okay.
fists touch, and that's it. Like that. That's
I like they were showing all season they were showing trailers for the next episode, and I was trying to avoid it because I didn't want any kind of
no. Here's the
spoiler.
thing. Absolutely, you would have gotten no spoiler from this because it literally
All right.
showed them punch each other. Make
Yeah.
you sort of see the wave, but it doesn't go like it stops before you see it go past them really. And so I
Mhm.
go, this trailer gave me nothing.
All right. Well, that's good.
Uh,
That's the best kind
no,
of
no, no.
trailer.
I agree, 100%
Just to
agree with you.
remind you why you're hyped for
Here's the
what's
thing,
coming
I
up.
100% agree with you. I'm just sitting here going, I was expecting like even like a split something, and they gave us nothing, and I was like, good for them.
I just wasted 10 seconds of my time watching.
But it was so well done because it literally was just the end credit scene, and they just touched this time. That's it. So I just find that to be funny. No, this episode messed with me in multitude of ways. They made Conquest very scary, and like not in just a physical way.
Just you were scared for his mental stability and what that would cause for everybody else. I'm sitting here as he's talking. I'm like, please don't do anything more than just murder Mark. Please
No,
don't.
I literally was thinking the same thing. I was like, please just murder him. Please just murder him. Please just murder him. Please only murder him. Please only murder him. That's all I kept saying. Even with Oliver too, I was like, please only murder him. Please only murder him.
Oh
It was
god,
so.
it was this episode was it was so brutal, and it was like it
Oh
wasn't clearly it was not as brutal as the Invincible War, but it didn't need to be
no, but it was like
because,
it
like you
still
said,
was like it was two people and it was bloody enough with just the two of them.
yeah, but it was the other stuff that made it even more so because seeing Conquest basically vent to him about how like his life sucks because he's just a killing machine and he wants more, but everyone is too afraid of him to get more. And oh god, and like you said, Oliver coming in and just recreated some of the scenes from Nolan's fight with the train scene but on the beach.
Yeah, and
Um
then we just see him go. So the other thing too is like we see him get punched. So there was another part too where he gets punched through and basically goes through the entire city, through several buildings, and Mark's like
yep.
slowly getting up, and then all of a sudden, and this is the scene that messed with me the most too, because then we see Conquest fly through full speed, ready to smash Mark into the ground, and we see Mark go stop, and then he
Oh yeah.
stops. Can we talk about that?
Yeah.
I was not prepared for that because I was like, what's going on? Why did he stop?
Yeah, it was just randomly stops and then they talk for a second and Conquest is like, nah,
He's
and
like,
just
"This is my
continues.
problem with you. You're not even a Viltrumite," and then just smacks him. Oh, it was
I
so good.
like it. We see Cecil get freaking out because he wants the
Oh,
reanimates to
so
be ready, but they're not.
so you know who the reanimates are, right? Who that what bodies they used?
One of them was Rex. I don't remember. No. Oh,
They were
I
no,
thought
they
it.
were the dead marks. They were the dead Invincibles.
Oh,
That was
okay.
why
I
they
didn't
that's why they
realize.
didn't have the tools strong enough to cut through the tissue.
Oh, okay. Well, so one of them I thought I saw
All right, so
Rex's
I'll say
outfit.
this. I'll say this. I'm not saying you're wrong on that piece, but the idea is they're supposed to be all invincible.
That one makes sense because I was looking at the outfits and I was like, I don't recognize any of them. But now that you say that, that makes sense.
So they were
Um,
all the Invincibles, and so they're literally. So I didn't want to say anything because it didn't want to ruin anything. Part of the Invincible War is they use the dead Invincibles as weapons, but they weren't ready for conquest.
okay, it makes
No,
sense.
no, no,
It
because
just
no,
happens.
so
It's only been a week.
I don't even think it's been that long. It probably was, but like
No, they said it was a week.
but it's
So
just so funny because and then Cecil's just like, why aren't these ready? He's like, man, you can't rush this. And the guy's like not being a jerk for once. He's like, we trying really hard here. And he's just like and he's swearing up a storm like, damn it. And that's not what he said. He said something else. And he's just walking out being like, I got nothing. He's like, we got this massive threat here. Who is the strong? He goes, I'm seeing the strongest thing I've ever seen in this universe beat for what I know for a fact being the strongest man in this world getting just
on this
on this
planet,
planet
yep.
getting destroyed. We need help here.
I liked at the end of it because he's like the scientist what is his name, O'Leary, oh,
I don't. I
O'Connor,
don't. No, it's no. It's
oh, Sinclair,
Sinclair.
Sinclair.
I'm like Mike. I
um
don't know why you're going, but I know that's not right.
I know it wasn't, but anyway, Sinclair,
You're right.
he's
Yes.
he was he said I know that the we're in a shit situation and I don't need you to repeat it. But hearing you say it puts it into retrospect. I'm going to work a little bit faster now. I'm like like you need the extra incentive to move faster.
Well, I mean, the idea is it's like
then he goes to the girl that he was going to go to dinner with. He's like, I guess we're not doing a dinner date. We're doing a work date. It's
she's like,
like,
yeah, I figured. No, it was just it was it. So that was all awesome in and of itself too. So we see Mark getting destroyed, and everyone just watching. Like literally the entire world just watching him get beat up. Okay, and to be fair,
there's nothing
no,
they
no.
can do.
Here's the thing. I 100% agree. I'm just stating like he's just getting his butt kicked, and there's nothing anybody can do. So what I do love is Oliver getting ready to go, and Debbie being like, no, and he's like, Mark needs me. Like, this is the thing I need to do. And she's like, fine, be faster. Do not let him grab you because it will end you. And what happens? This boy gets
It's,
grabbed and he's
yep.
done. So anyway,
Just one punch and he's out of it.
he
Like,
kicks he kicks Conquest off of him, right? Um, and gets knocked away. So then he's like, I got this. He's like, I'm about ready to knock you out, old man. And he goes over and then gets slapped. And then
yeah.
and then his face kisses the concrete beautifully, just ever so gently, ever so gently, and then right, and he's just like you see his whole face like swollen already, and then Mark's like, "Don't you touch him!" And then they start fighting. He then throws Mark. I mean, not sorry. He throws Oliver away, and then he and Conquest begin to fight. He gets a little bit angrier and starts beating on um, Conquest. Then Conquest is like, "I'm gonna go have fun with your brother," and he's like, "No." He's like, "I'm gonna go have fun with your brother." He's like, "No, you're not." And then he goes, "I'm gonna have fun with your brother." He goes, "Come here, boy," and I'm just like, "Ah!" And then poor Oliver just stands up, his teeth literally coughed up, all of them, it looks like. And then he just goes, "Oh no," and gets grabbed. And luckily, I don't even know if he hits him again.
No,
That
he
he
doesn't
just
hit him. He
grabs him,
just
right?
stretches him.
And he just like
Just
one
yep.
on the head, one on the like the I think it was his calves, and he's just pulling.
Yeah.
And he's going.
What's funny is that I saw a spoiler before I watched this, and it was Oliver at the start of season 3 and Oliver at the end of it, and it's like him at his normal height and then him stretched out. I was like, oh, they're making a joke that he's growing up in the middle of the season, and then I see this episode, I was like, that wasn't the joke. That wasn't the joke.
What is funny though, and this doesn't ruin anything, he eventually grows anyway. So it's not like it's so, but it's just that's not the reason. That has nothing to do with the reason. However, that is just funny that happened. Um,
um, what?
then
This
so we forget to talk about Eve. So Eve comes in, right? So first off, she gets out of the
Eve wakes up,
and she's like, "Oh
and
my gosh, she's
and
being beat up," and then everyone's like, "You can't go up there," and he's like, "You can't even walk." By the way, while she's
the
flying. Oh
the
yes.
parents realize that he's invincible.
Well, I mean, he's not
Mark
invincible.
Mark
He's not
Mark is
invincible,
invincible.
but I mean, he's the character Invincible. Yeah. I'm a jerk. I know. Which is, by the way,
That was
that's
a horrible
no,
joke.
but that is actually the joke of the comics. Like he's named Invincible, but he's not.
Yeah,
Which is also funny. But anyway,
they made that joke. I don't in one of the past
in
seasons. I
every
don't
season.
remember.
Let's be honest. But anyway, so we have this was the only season. This was the only episode ever where nobody says Invincible. It was
Yeah,
just the title screen. Like they just went title screen fight. We're done. We're just doing
yeah, like right into it, right into
it.
it.
And so, but anyway, so we have Eve, and then they're like, "You can't even walk," and she's like, "I'm flying right now. Do I look like I need to walk?" And I'm like, "She's not wrong."
Yeah,
So then
that's
she
for
goes
sure.
out there and she goes full on Iron Man, and like Iron Man slash like Sue Storm slash Jean Grey, just beating on Conquest like it's her job, and it is. And he's getting smacked around like you wouldn't believe for a while. All right, not a while, but like longer than anybody else could do. Let's be honest.
What's funny, the thing is like I don't this entire fight sequence. I don't know if he at least with Eve. With Mark, yes and no, but with Eve, you don't know if he was toying with her just to see how strong she truly was, or if she was actually,
I
you
I
know,
think it was more the fact of like I think because he was toying with Mark, he wasn't prepared for somebody like her. So
yeah,
I think she caught him off guard. Like even when he like all of a sudden he couldn't fly, he's like, "What the
mm.
hell is going on?" And she's like, "I made the air around you so dense," and then hits him. And I'm like, Jesus.
So you were comparing it to other comics. I've been seeing online people were comparing her to Scarlet Witch, and it was because of
That's fair.
her limitations. So they were comparing that like she has to be able to be in a life or death situation for her to reach her full potential. So I thought that was a cool comparison.
Yeah. No, I
Um,
do like that. I just excuse me. For me, it's hard to like because everyone has like a counterpart. Let's be honest, but like the idea
yeah.
is like hers is could also be Jean Grey as well.
Oh yeah.
And again, it doesn't really ruin anything just because it all works. Both work because they both
Mm-hmm.
they both have the similar drawback. You know what I mean? Like they can do a lot, but like they really can't do it for long. Like none of them can.
Yeah.
And so the same thing with her. So then she starts getting tired, and then he notices. So the whole thing is when she hits him the final time with the hammer, and he blocks it. She's getting weaker at that point, and he realizes it, and that's when he's like, "Well, this is no more fun." And then
Yeah.
and then he toys with her with destroying her armor first,
Mm-hmm.
and then is like punches her once in the face, breaks her jaw, and then stabs her with his fist.
Yeah. Punches her through her gut.
Yeah, I like my way better. He stabbed her through the.
Stabbed her with his fist. That's an interesting comment.
So Yeah, it was just one of those things, and it was like, and then she dies.
Yep.
But she
Yep.
does really. Um,
Well, she says she almost did. So she.
no, so the idea is it's like her body doesn't allow her to completely die, and then she can resurrect herself.
Yeah.
And that's what happened here. And then she goes full on either chaos control or full on Phoenix, whatever you want to describe it as. And she burns Conquest's body pretty bad. And then
Hmm.
she loses her power and passes out. And then Mark goes full on breaking Conquest's arm, his robot arm, and then breaking his own, breaking his other arm in the battle as well.
Conquest broke his
Yeah,
other arm.
sorry. And then he begins to headbutt Conquest until he is literally face is split almost in half.
Hmm.
And then Cecil comes in with backup and is like, "We're here," or oh,
We're here to pick you up. It's like
it's like, "Oh, I think we're a little late here."
they always show up late. The backup always is
No,
late.
absolutely, which is so funny to me too, because it's like they literally were like, they were there for it, and they were like, "Oh, okay," and it's just like,
Now, in actuality, it's a good thing that the backup was late because they all would have been
"Oh,
dead.
they would have,
So,
they would have been, they would have been gone. They would have been gone. There would have been no question or
um,
concern there. They would have been dead."
but I loved this episode in terms of, like you said, with the emotional, with the mental stability of Conquest, just him saying what he was saying, and even in general, like pulling the classic Superman comment is like, "Thank you for this because I normally have to hold back because the higher ups don't want me to utterly destroy everything, but for some reason, whatever you did, I can unleash to my full potential, and I am so thankful for
I
this."
want to thank you for what you've done here today, and I'm just like, ugh.
But even going on that, because it was
Oh, can we also talk about? So this is one thing we do need to mention, and I don't think you know this. So
mm,
obviously, you know the two actors that played Conquest and Invincible were in The Walking Dead. Did
yep,
you know that a lot of the characters we've already seen have been voiced by Walking Dead characters, actors?
I did
So
not know
all of
that.
the Guardians are Walking Dead characters. Look it up.
Oh, cool.
And the writer of this show is the same writer as The Walking Dead.
Oh, that's cool. I know that the actor who played Conquest made a comment about the rematch of Glenn
Yes,
versus what's his name,
Negan.
and he was like it was cool because Glenn finally got to get his revenge on me for I was like I went
Quite
with
literally,
yeah.
bashing his head in.
um but no, it was just like I said, the emotional turmoil of this episode with the characters,
I
uh
agree.
and then Conquest wanted Mark to hit his full potential. It's like he was like, I'm going to do this because I want you to hit me
I think
harder.
this is weird too. Like Conquest is the. And this is gonna sound weird. So he's the oldest living Viltrumite. Um,
Yep.
because he's lived this long, it's been mostly because nobody's been able to kill him. And so he
Yep.
wants somebody, not necessarily he wants somebody to kill him, but he wants somebody strong enough to actually be able to give him the chance of killing him. Because he's never even
Hmm.
gotten close to that. And he's like, give it to me, give it to me, give it to me. Um, and so it's just kind of been like that kind of thing. Um, and I mean, like I said, it's wonky just the way he is in general, Conquest.
Hmm.
But like, I don't think he necessarily wants to die, but he definitely wants a good fight. So he's like, he
Oh
wants
yeah.
the next generation to be better than him. Because I also think he knows, like, I'm not gonna live forever.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Um, what was it that he said that was really messed up?
Really? Like what?
No. This one got me because he was like they didn't even give me a
Oh
name.
yes,
Mine
he's like, they
is
just gave
like
me a purpose, and that was it. And I was just like, oh god.
it's like this guy was born messed up.
No.
Like, come
Oh yeah,
on.
I'm like, poor Mark's not even gonna stand a chance here. Mark was loved. This guy doesn't even know what's going on in reality.
Yeah. Oh god. Just it was such a combination of brutality, the like, as again, the mental
It was
stability,
so
just
good.
the creepy whispering to Mark who tell like, oh my god, it was so
No, it
great.
was
And
so
then
good.
obviously at the end, Cecil is bringing Conquest back to life. He's rejuvenating him because he wants
Well,
Conquest to tell
he's
him.
not dead, and I think that's the big thing. Like he wasn't.
Well, that's the thing, is he told Mark that he was
No, no.
dead.
Yes, 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 yes. But even
Um,
though and it's also kind of funny too because we also see him like being a little nervous,
oh yeah,
and so like I didn't put two and two together there because I'm like I don't know why he's nervous. Like meaning like I don't get like there's something I'm missing.
yep.
And then it makes sense obviously after where it's like oh it's because of he doesn't want Mark to know.
But oh, excuse me. Obviously that's definitely going to backfire on Cecil.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you
So
don't even need to read the comics to know it's gonna backfire.
yeah, I mean, obviously that's going to backfire. You don't keep a Viltrumite alive because nothing's going to hold him.
I mean,
So
you're correct. You're,
he's hoping. I think we talked about it yesterday. Is like he's hoping that the explosions will take him out. But
I mean, again, the reason why he has is just because of what Rex Explode did, and so he's like, we
yep,
can figure this out, so we're gonna make it bigger and better and do that. That being said, that doesn't mean it's gonna work, obviously.
yeah, of
Um,
course.
but no, that was like the big thing of what like his thought process was, and so I'm like, whatever. It doesn't really ruin anything, honestly, so it's not like I really care. But it's just one of those things where it's like he's using the situation around him to try to get a better understanding of kind of like what's happening, type of thing.
Yep.
And he's not like Cecil. As much as I like Cecil, and I will never not like Cecil. I'm just stating like
Now.
no now Cecil like Cecil is hoping that like that they're gonna get something out of him, and Conquest I really don't think knows much, and and it's for good reason because nobody talks to him.
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah.
not
I
because
mean, even here's the thing. Even if Conquest like knew something,
oh he's definitely not telling.
what
He's definitely
what is Cecil going to do to him
what
that
are
will
you
get him to
what do
talk?
you think he's gonna do to me? He goes, I took out your strongest hero out of your two strongest heroes out of commission, and what do you want me to do? You know what I'm saying? So it's like I get it.
Yeah.
Um,
Obviously, the episode ended with a little bit update of what everyone was doing.
also, the funeral was sad for Rex.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, and
Mark is literally
shrinking.
all cast up, like literally.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, makes sense.
Shrinking Ray wasn't even like kind of at the funeral. She was in the distance. Eve broke down.
Which makes sense,
Yep, because they have a long history together.
and she said that too.
Um, but um, Rex, robot changing his name to Rex
Yep.
is kind of interesting
Well, that also explains why Rex was around
in
in the
in
future.
the future. Yep,
So, just so you understand that piece too.
yep.
But yeah, no, I agree with you. It was kind of just weird in that sense, but it didn't ruin anything anyway. Um, but no, it was just so good. It was so good.
No, it was.
And then we get to
This was a
then we
good
get to
episode.
see the what the hell are they called?
The technicians.
Oh yeah, so we do see them, and then they're going to be they're going to be using other worlds to try to increase their technology and hold other world. But no, I was also going to say that in the sewer we had the tentacle creatures from Mars, um,
Oh yeah.
and they're on Earth and they're ready to
Yep.
cause an army. And I think that's going to be a main. I think that's going to be the season opener of season 4.
It definitely has to be because I mean that one you can't really build too much on. It's just
Well, no,
like
what's going to
a
happen?
single.
It's either going to happen or
It's a
it's not.
single
Yeah.
purpose. Yeah. We saw Battle Beast floating in space and he got saved.
By the people who
Um,
imprisoned him to begin with.
Actually, I didn't realize that they were the same
Well,
people. So
they're the
that'll be
same species. I shouldn't say they're the same exact people, but they're the prisoner species. They're the prison guards where he was.
okay. I actually didn't realize that. I thought they were. I thought they looked different. So that's why I
No,
didn't.
I think they were healing. I think they were kind of broken.
Oh, okay. That's fair. That's why I didn't recognize them.
And then he wakes up and he's like,
And says more.
I'm like, oh god.
It's like those poor guys don't know what's going on.
And like I
What they're
want to
in
tell
for.
you what happens to Battle Beast, but I don't know if they're gonna show it or not, so I don't want to ruin it.
Okay. Well, next season we'll figure that
Well,
out.
I
Hopefully.
don't know. To be honest with you, I don't know. They could be season 7 for all I know. I don't really know what.
That's true.
But
Yeah.
let's just say he. This doesn't ruin anything. He gets to fight more Viltrumites, and that doesn't ruin anything. It really doesn't. That doesn't.
I was not expecting to see the Viltrumite just torn apart. He was just
Well, at
the.
first I was like, there seems to be more body parts than people. And then I see him in a ball of just being frozen, and I'm like, oh, he lived. Again, not that I was surprised he lived. I was just more the fact I'm like, oh, he lived. And then he gets brought back to life from just the warmth, obviously, and he's just
Yeah,
like, I'm ready
he
to
got
fight.
rejuvenated, I
Yeah,
guess.
he woke up. Um, and yeah, so yeah, we get a lot of that. So there's going to be a lot of things happening. The only update we didn't get, which I'm kind of glad they didn't, was of Nolan and Alan, because it really. I mean, again, I'm a little disappointed, but at the same time, I get it.
I mean, I am interested in the if Conquest lied or didn't was actually unaware because
Wasn't
he
aware.
said because he's like, oh, your father and
Well,
Nolan
because here's my
were
thought process. Here's my
executed.
thought process. It has to do with the fact that he was told what to do. Nolan's being executed. Go on to Earth.
Yeah,
So he goes. So he's under the impression by the time he gets to Earth, he'd be dead.
they are
Which, to be
executed.
fair, he would have been.
No, absolutely. But the reason is his wording because his wording was they were executed before I left.
Oh yes, no that.
So so that's why I was like, I'm wondering if he lied or if he actually didn't know. So
That's a
that's
good question. I don't know that one, and I I'll be honest with you. Not that this. I don't want to belittle.
it's not like a major
That's more
impact. It
of
was
what I'm
just
getting at.
obviously it was more
It's
of
just
it was meant to be like a mind
it's
game for
supposed to be
Mark,
a mind game
anyways.
regardless, so it doesn't matter whether he knows it or not.
Yeah, I
It's
was.
just
It's just more of my curiosity, just to like I wonder how like knowledgeable he truly is, or if he's truly just a a weapon. Um. So, but no, it was a good episode. I cannot. It was a great season finale. I cannot wait for next season. Hopefully it doesn't take too long to get here.
I
Um,
mean, I don't think so. Just because they know now like what needs to be done, and I feel like they've already started working on it.
I think they did too, but I mean, like, if it comes out next year, great.
Yeah, I think it might be slightly longer than a year, but it's not going to be anywhere like it was before, where it's like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, type of thing.
Yeah. But I mean, I have no complaints this season, honestly. Like, there was no mid-season break, which kind of killed, killing the hype.
Yep.
So it was just constant every week, going right at it, and they didn't. This season, they didn't disappoint. They
No.
give a lot of teases in terms of like, with I thinking the episode was going to be bad when it was Eve and Mark
Yes.
having their little fun for the
And
night,
then we
and
have
then
Nolan to Alan. No, they did a great job of like the transition and everything else.
um,
But yeah, so let us move on to Daredevil because we could be talking about this forever.
yeah, we can. And we can talk about this forever too, because this episode was absolutely
So this
beautiful.
episode was literally a crime drama episode. Um, we get we first off we get what happened. So honestly, I don't know about you, but I initially thought for a second he was arrested because he went to the jail cell.
Oh, yeah, me too. Yep,
And then we see his client, and I go, oh, he's not arrested. Um,
yep.
so anyway, so we have so they're talking about everything. They're getting ready to go to the court and everything, and then we have the scene in the bathroom, and of course Matt already knew who was in the bathroom, but he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, you
Mhm.
talking to me?" He's like, I know you're not blind." He's like, "No, I am blind." He goes, "But I don't think you want to tell people you got beat up by a blind guy." He goes, I know you're getting
Yeah,
arrested for beating on beating on police and everything." He's like, "Yeah, but you'll get worse charges." And he goes, "And the the least amount of thing you'd get is a slap on the wrist." And he goes, "And I doubt the DA will allow that, especially with what happened." And so he kind of like shuts up and like doesn't do anything.
yep. Um,
But I do like when they're in the.
we have to confirm that the both of them did not end up
Oh
dying
yes, that is
somehow.
true. That is true.
I was shocked as soon as I saw the cop come into the bathroom. I
Well,
was
that
like,
was the
wait,
one I
he's
thought
they're
got killed because
what?
he was the one whose neck went the wrong way,
Yeah,
and I was just like, "Oh God, he's dead. He's
like if he didn't die, then the other one clearly is alive.
no,
And
no, definitely no." That was the whole thing. Like, I'm not saying like I knew like not both of them were dead. Maybe like one, but if the guy in the back was dead, then definitely the guy who got the neck slammed into the ground was dead.
yeah,
And that obviously didn't happen. Well, meaning like they didn't die is what I mean.
yeah,
But oh my god,
didn't go the way we thought it was gonna go.
no, and it wasn't a bad thing either. But it was just like, oh yeah, like I was not prepared for that at all.
Nope, nope, not at all. And it just Yeah, the mind games that they played right at the beginning of both of them trying to one up each other,
Oh,
and obviously Matt able to, with his lawyer abilities, able
outwits them
to.
really well.
Yep. Um, but I loved this episode of using the White Tiger. He was able to manipulate the White Tiger stigma into a good thing because he
Well, let's
was
talk about that. It started off with Matt not wanting it put into evidence at all because it was going to
yep,
be a detriment to his client. Then it turned in. So then the what's it called?
the star
The star
witness.
witness backed out basically. I mean,
Yeah,
not in so many words, but you know what I mean. But
he
he
flipped.
basically folded exactly right. So then we have that going on. So then we have so now they're like worried about what's going to be happening. So he decides to use the persona of the White Tiger, and then uses police reporting along with civilians to talk about how great of a hero White Tiger is. And that
Yep.
clearly something was going on wonky, or else why else would he be getting involved to begin with?
hmm Why would someone who's had has a history of helping the cops and looking out for them and protect even sometimes protecting them all of a sudden decide I'm going to kill some
Right.
cops?
Absolutely.
Um, I really, I honestly, even going to both of them, the even the prosecution, like their statements was pretty impactful too, because it's like sometimes people are people, they make mistakes. Sometimes you know you could be going with for some good intentions and then something bad happens. Um, it was great, and obviously, like the judge being furious that Matt just like double crossed him. I guess is the best way to put it. Is like because like you said, he wasn't supposed to use the White Tiger in court, and then it's like, oh yeah, by the way, White Tiger's here.
And then he tries to defend his actions, and then the best part is he's like, so then they're like, oh, we're gonna have a mistrial. And he's like, it's already gonna be out anyway, and he's just like, we're gonna just continue.
Yep, there was nothing you could do
No,
because
that's
you can't
exactly right.
declare a mistrial. You can't
I
tell
mean,
him
like you
not to
could, no,
listen
you
to this at
could,
this
but the
point.
idea was it's going to be out that he's the White Tiger. That's not going to be kept a secret, so it doesn't matter.
Yep.
So everyone's going to know, and so like that was the big thing too, where it was just perfect in that sense. And then we get, and then we, and then we get, like I said, all the police and everything else reports and everything talking about how great everything's going with White Tiger. I mean, and
Yep.
then we have the reason why he was over there, which was because he was getting a apartment for him and his wife because they finally were going to have their own place to stay, and she got all excited, blah blah blah, all that stuff. And then, um, give me a minute, give me a minute, give me a minute. So we have all that going on, and then the jury comes out, and it is that he is not guilty for all charges.
hmm
Um, and then I'm gonna pause there for a reason, because we have to
Okay.
talk about Vanessa and Fisk's therapy.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Because I don't want to, because there's something that happens where I want to talk about them that leads into the very end.
Okay.
Um.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh. Okay. So anyway, we have. Are you done? Good. So Vanessa and Fisk have therapy again, and it is by far the funniest because they're the most honest before therapy starts with each other,
Yeah.
and they clam up soon as the therapist comes in. But anyway, so we hear everything kind of going on and how he's like, and we also find out too, and I don't know if you get this, but the guy Adam is actually her ex lover that was she was sleeping with while Fisk was away.
Yeah. I
They didn't specifically state it, but it was heavily hinted.
no. I know that it was. I figured that, but I didn't know if it was someone that we have seen
I don't
around.
think so.
Um. So that was the only thing. Obviously, the way that they said it is like you're just getting back at me for Adam, and I'm like, okay, that's the guy that
Yes.
she was sleeping with. Um. But uh, otherwise, having a face is I don't know who that is
No,
otherwise,
no,
so I didn't
I
know
don't think.
if I had just missed
To
it.
be honest with you, I don't think you were like as stupid as it sounds. I don't think you were meant to know any more than that. Just
That's fair.
because I don't think they were ever seen anywhere. I don't remember seeing them. So if they
Yeah.
were, it's news to me. I'm not gonna lie to
Okay.
you. That's all I'll say on that piece, just because I don't think so. I'll say it that way,
hmm
and we'll go from that. because I legitimately don't think so.
But Kingpin basically was laying down his thought of like we can no longer do the criminal do be a criminal organization because that is small pickings for what I have in mind. It's better to let them.
Kill each other.
We cannot get involved in criminal acts because that's just going to be it. The way I'm going doing things is now better.
Yes.
So
No, you're absolutely correct. That's what he
she
said.
and Vanessa doesn't like that because it was something that she worked
She
towards and
built.
earned.
She built, and that
Yeah.
was her thing.
So and now she's just furious because he's just showing up and taking it away, and like she has essentially no say in the matter. Um, which can be understandable. He's been gone for almost 10 years, I think, and you know just all of a sudden shows back up and it's like, oh yeah, this is mine again. I'm like, okay. um I liked it at one point too because Vanessa was like, "Oh, you expect me to just fall in line?" And he's just like, "Yes."
Yeah, yeah, and that
Like,
pissed her off even more. And it was just like that was
yeah,
not the smart thing to say.
no, he just like was very blatant about that. And actually, like normally when he talks to her in the first couple episodes, he's very timid. But in this case, he was just like, "Nope,
Right.
no holds bar."
Yeah, he was not afraid to open his mouth here. And
Yep,
that did not work out in his favor, obviously. But
yep. I'm curious how their story is going to play out in this season. If they're going to reconcile or if they're actually going to
to be honest with you, I don't know. I have a feeling that it's going to depend on when Wilson Fisk is okay with both empires combining.
yeah,
That's going to be that.
it's going to kind of have to.
Well, that's my point. Like it's either not or it's gonna. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like so, it's like they're either going to split up because it didn't work out. And honestly, it's not their relationship. I know it sounds stupid to say, but it's their operations. If their operations fail, they're going to split up. If their operations succeed, they're going to stay together.
Yeah.
And that's really what it comes
It's
down
going to
to.
be have to one person is going to have to accept the one over the other kind of thing is like like you said, either the mayorship has to become the more prominent role or the crime syndicate has to become more of a the primary role, uh which you know it's going basically the season's going to be is if Kingpin can remain as mayor, then we know which one it ends because I don't think by the end of the season one of them is going to be on top.
Yeah, absolutely.
um
The other thing too is just so yeah, so we have that going on, and then he gets mad when he finds out that White Tiger was let free. So he calls BB back in and talks with her about how vigilantes are the worst thing to happen in this city. And then
mhm.
that's when White Tiger runs out, all dressed up, ready to save the day. And then
Here's a woman screaming.
he does, and then runs over. And then before, like, he stops for a moment, and that's when a guy dressed as Punisher shoots him in the head. I say it that way because I definitely don't think it's Punisher.
Oh, 100% is not
Mostly
Punisher.
because all the cops have their Punisher tattoos, and so one of them is pretending to be him, and that's when we're gonna
Hmm.
get Punisher back. Also, did
Yep,
you hear that Punisher's getting a spotlight? He's not getting a series.
I did hear that, but at least that's the plan for now. uh
But he said,
Obviously
but he
things can
so
change.
the actor who plays Punisher was like, yeah, we're not gonna. He goes, we're not gonna. This isn't gonna be Disney esque. Oh no,
That's
that's not how he said
that's
it. Sorry. He goes, just because Disney owns it, we're not doing Punisher light. He goes, we're going full on Punisher.
oh
And I
yeah,
was
yeah,
like,
yeah,
and I'm like, yes.
yeah. I mean, we're already seeing it. Like
Oh, I'm like,
they've been
this
doing
is what we're
some.
doing in Daredevil. I'm not prepared for what we're getting in the.
I mean,
We're
like
not.
like like you said, like there was in season one, episode 1 and 2, we saw more violence in these two episodes than we did in the entire Defender saga. So I mean, or not the most violence, but like the brutality level of it. So if they bring in Punisher and make him like give him his own show, like you said, that'll end really bad. It can't be rated R. It'll have to be something like you have to be very aware of what's coming.
There's gonna be a lot of death, destruction, and body part dismemberment. And no, not from. It's gonna be from explosions and everything else. So if this is a problem for you, please don't watch. But anyway,
But I did tell you that there's a chance that the in season 2 of Daredevil Born Again, the Defenders are going to show up.
that's the rumor. It's not been
That is
confirmed.
the rumor. Yep.
I don't think it's going to be all of them. Because I don't think they've all agreed. But I don't know that for a fact. I don't know that for a fact.
No, I mean it could end up also being all of them, and like you said, they could have done a character recast.
Also, well, you
Um,
know what? That is also true. Uh,
I know I had told you last
and
week about how
realistically,
Jessica Jones was in New York, and the theory was is because season 2 was beginning to
correct.
film, it could be her making an appearance. So it would also line up with the other characters appearing.
Correct, but we don't know where they
Um,
are. And the other thing too is we might get Colleen Wig instead of Daniel Rand
Also true.
because
Yep.
last we knew
Um,
she was the Iron Fist.
yes. Um, he could. I mean, even at the end of the day, is that like he could still show up because he could. It's been over 10 years for him, I think. Right. So we don't know what he's been up to as well. So Colleen could be in the middle of something, and because they know him more than possibly Colleen, they reach out to him. Plus, he's the one with the resources, so he's the rich guy.
Um, but yeah, so we have that go. So we have the potential of that. But yeah, so then White Tiger dies, and I was not prepared for that.
No, I literally, I was like, oh my god, this was such a wholehearted
Well,
episode,
you know what I said
and
too
it
was
was
like the
great.
actor died, and so I'm like, oh, how are they going to do this? And then that happens. I was like, they weren't worried, unfortunately. Like I hate to be the
No,
and I hate being the jerk, but they can't say that obviously.
I completely forgot about that because I remember
But it
when
was
before Daredevil even came out,
yes.
they had said that he passed away, and I was like, oh, I wonder how they're gonna,
Well, you know what's
this is
funny? They
sad,
said originally they just said the actor that was going to be in Daredevil 2, Daredevil Born Again died because I don't even think they at the time stated who he was playing originally because I think it was still
I
I think it was still like sort of a secret.
no, I to be honest, I think they did say
I
that
don't think
because
that they
they
said
said
White
that
Tiger. I don't remember him saying the White Tiger died.
I mean, it's been so long. I thought they
They might
did,
have. They might have.
but because I had made the comment, I'm like, I'm wondering how they're going to do this because the guy is a, we are assuming he's going to be a prominent role. Um, if he wasn't a major character, I don't think they would have like said like he's appearing in Daredevil Born Again. You know what I
Well, I
mean?
think the idea was his character was important, but it wasn't in the way we thought. So that was the whole thing. Like
Also true.
we were not expecting death to come upon him in both reality and in the show.
Yeah,
It was either
that's
going to be
true.
one or the other. So the fact that it was both, I was just kind of like, oh.
Yep.
Um,
But this episode was great in terms of like this. They did such a great job allowing this to parallel Matt with the White Tiger because he's talking to him and saying, you can do good without the mask, and he's like, no, this is just who I
yeah,
am. Reiterating everything that we knew about Matt and Daredevil from the first 3 seasons. There's no point in trying to separate me because we are the same, and I'm not doing it because I need the fix. I'm doing it because it's the right thing to do, and I'm the only one that can do it.
correct.
Um, so, um, the other character that I heard that was supposed to be in the show, which I forgot about, was his name is Muse. So,
Well, I mean,
curious.
to be fair, there's now a spotlight for somebody to come in because now he's dead. So
Yep,
yeah,
that's what I was going to say. I wonder when he's going to start making his appearances because we're already a quarter. Next week we're going to be a quarter of the way through through the series. So
is this?
there's only nine.
No,
There's
no,
there's
no.
only
I
nine
know.
episodes
That's not why I made that face. Is it this week or next week? That's the 2 episodes.
next
Okay.
week. This week episode 4 is just one episode. Next week is 5 and
Okay.
6.
Perfect. All right, Mike. Well, we are moving on from this, and you're going to do your character spotlight.
Okay,
While you do that,
Mike.
unfortunately, just tell me who it is, and then I have to go take care of something.
Okay, do you think you'll be back before I'm done?
I should be, yes.
Okay. Well, my character this week is
Great talk.
Sharon Quincell.
Oh, okay.
You're leaving and you're interested. um so in the early life, Sharon has had also been a promising medical researcher until she fell in love with Nick Quincell. And barred the child they named Harleen. They had a stormy life, which later settled, though not before Harley had a poor example poor enough an example of a relationship that she later fell in love for Mr. J Joker. Basically, because her parents had a, you know, great relationship, she took that to heart and it rubbed off. So Sharon Quinsell had her hands full with three troublesome boys born after her notorious daughter Harley Quinn. While Nick was incarcerated at Rikers Prison, she was left alone to raise for her children. Um, their mother daughter throughout life, as we even saw in the Harley Quinn show, they had a strained relationship. They were estranged. They weren't speaking to each other for some time, and in the comics, they were reunited in the Crisis of Infinite Earth saga. Their mother daughter reunion was done over dinner, and it was seen as very awkward. Um, while in the middle of this awkward dinner, some crooks ruined their reunion and attacked them. And while they were being attacked, or while the incident was going on, Sharon was convincing Harley to try to lay low and let them pass. But Harley, being Harley, decided that she was going to go attack them and, you know, be Harley. um, Despite Harley ignoring her, Sharon followed to support her daughter's choices and demonstrated her own ability by throwing two mercenaries over the side of the cruise over a side of a cruise ship. Um, Harley would have let them drown. Sharon encouraged Harley. Had conv- Sharon had convinced Harley to save them because I guess at this point Harley had started to turn from straight villain to anti-hero and obviously later hero in some instances. After their reunion tour and over dinner and whatnot, Sharon eventually moved back to Florida. Um, though she continued to be Harley's conscious, encouraged her better nature. The next crisis for Sharon was during Harley's fourth wall breaking trip through DC Comics continuity. Visiting Coney Island, Sharon and her daughter walked arm in arm on the pier talking about life, and Harley proudly showed her the comic book that Meredith made about her, coincidentally entitled Harley Quinn number 50. To give you a little bit of a run back, I'm going over the point where Harley Quinn is able to break the fourth wall
Mhm.
and is showing her mother a comic book that was made about Harley Quinn to her. Um, when they came back to the page where real Harley and Sharon and comic book Harley and Sharon synced, an endless recursion of that moment broke DC continuity at the cost of Sharon's existence. She transformed into rose petals and drifted away, and in that moment, Harley realized just how much her mother meant to her. She and the continuity cop Joni DC tracked down the author Meredith Clatterbuck, and went as far to in, engage the anti-monitor to erase and literally rewrite the continuity to include Sharon Quinsell once again. Later, Nick and Sharon reunited. Nick and Sharon returned to Coney Island, and this time brought Harley Quinn's three brothers. They had a strained relationship, but Sharon was insistent that they spend the holiday together, despite the fact that the family men just about destroyed the party. In the midst of destruction, Sharon's youngest son, Ezzy, blurted out the reason behind the reunion. Sharon had cancer. Sharon had lung cancer, and her chances of survival were not great. When the family returned to Florida after Christmas, Sharon stayed with Harley to spend her final days on Coney Island and very quickly ended up in the hospital. Harley would tend to her needs and read to her out of the comic book that Clatterbuck continued to produce and battle the hospital admin wherever necessary. Despite Harley's attempt to steal a miraculous cure from Star Labs, and a comic book offer to cure Sharon from Lex Luthor, death came to Sharon Quinsell when she was surrounded by her family and friends. Her legacy is Harley continued to see her mother Sharon in her head or in Meredith's Harley Quinn comic. She remained an important part of Harley Quinn's life. Sharon was ultimately very forgiving and with a big heart, and did her best to make up for Harley Quinn's poor childhood before she died. Um, Basically, in the comics, Sharon had a very important part in Harley's life. She tried to be Harley's moral compass and trying to do good, even though she she tried to make up for her upbringing that she wasn't the best of mothers. And we even see this in the show with with her own families, which I really like that they keep that keep that alive. Like, even though she's very strained with her parents, no matter what, they're her parents, and she still loves them. Obviously, they don't have it. There's no Sharon has no actual powers. Um, she just just a regular mother that I don't know if you heard this, but she was also a therapist, which are follow in the family
Okay.
business kind of thing. Um, but she made her first comic appearance in 2015, and her cancer death came in 2019. So she's a new character that didn't last too long. Um, Curious how in the Harley Quinn show if they will ever tackle that situation. They already tackled it with her father, so
True.
um, I honestly, this week I didn't really know who to do, so I was like, you know what? I wonder if there's anything about a lot about her mother, and it wasn't a lot, but it was something.
Yeah. All right.
So
Well,
that's it for me.
that is it for today. Next week, we're going to be talking about season 2 of The Punisher. We're going to be moving on to the latest episode, actually, the season finale of Harley Quinn. Then we'll be talking about the latest episode of Daredevil, and I think that's it. Obviously, a character spotlight for me, but I mean, like, I think that's it though. Because
Yeah, finale
when's
Harley,
the next shows?
Daredevil.
When's the next shows that are coming?
I think the next show is Andor at the end of April.
Okay.
I think that
No, I think you're
I
right,
think that's it.
and that's only for 4 weeks.
Uh,
So,
but it's going to be a movie every week.
no, it is. It is. It is. It's going to be a lot to talk about. So for now, if you made it this far into
um,
the video, please make sure to like and subscribe down below. Other than that, this is going to be Scott and Mike signing out of the Black Eel Podcast. Have a wonderful night. Bye bye.